Kaguya was defeated, the war was over, or so everyone thought. Just when Naruto believes the hardest battle of his life is finally behind him, a terrifying new threat emerges from the shadows, one even the strongest shinobi fear. But this time, Naruto is different. He has grown stronger, mastered powers he never knew existed, and now he's ready to face an enemy who has been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The battle after Kaguya's defeat has finally begun, and this time, Naruto may not be fighting to save the world. He may be fighting to survive it. Fire, the greatest battle of Naruto's life starts now. Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic story part 4. The fanfic title is What If Naruto's Greatest Battle Was After Kaguya's Defeat Part 4. If you like this fanfic, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Now let's start the fanfics. Kakashi sighed as he signed another document. He'd only been Hokage a few weeks, and he already understood why Tsunade hated the job. Sure, he was honored to have the position, but it was an extremely stressful and boring job sometimes. Whether it be dealing with this damn paperwork, or listening to the civilians whining. The job could just be a major pain in the. He barely even had time to read anymore. His Ika books were collecting dust in his desk, and it killed him not being able to read his favorite books. Just as Kakashi was about to sign another document, a few knocks came from his door. That must be Naruto now. Kakashi thought as he pushed the paperwork off to the side. Come in. The door opened and Naruto entered the room. Ah, Naruto, you're here on time. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Well, I'm not like you, Kakashi-sensei, showing up late to everything. Naruto said as he stopped in front of Kakashi's desk. Even when I'm Hokage, he still shows little respect. Kakashi thought as he sweat dropped. So what mission do you have for me, sensei? Well, this mission will be the start of your Hokage training, Kakashi said, making Naruto perk up. The main reason you weren't selected to be Hokage is that you're young and inexperienced. You need to work on your political skills. You have a way with words, Naruto, and you could inspire anybody to follow your lead. But your brash behavior could anger some officials and cause a problem. So I'll be having you travel to each of the major shinobi villages to see how they're handling the BIJUU. Basically, you'll meet each of the village leaders, and check up on the village's condition. That sounds awesome, sensei. I get to travel around and see all the villages. Naruto said as excitement built inside him. Naruto, this isn't a vacation. This is a serious mission, and the start of your Hokage training. This mission will prove if you have the ability to work with other leaders and villages, and not cause an international crisis. Quote. This sobered Naruto very quickly. Alright, sensei, I understand. I'll take this mission seriously. Good. Now on this mission I'll allow you to take a team of your choosing. But I know you'll just pick your girls, so I'll allow you to take them along with you. But I'll probably send a few extra men with you just to be safe. This mission should only take a couple months at most. So you should be back before their pregnancies can hinder their shinobi abilities. Quote. Arigato, sensei. Naruto said with a foxy grin. Also, Naruto, while you're away I'll have a new home built for you and the girls. It should be completed before you get back. Really? Of course, I can't have you and your girls all crammed into your small apartment, Kakashi said with Anyo. Their eye smile. Thank you, sensei. Naruto said as he reached across the desk and hugged Kakashi. Suddenly Naruto felt the cold steel of a kunai pressed up against his neck, as an Anbu guard stood behind him. Naruto started sweating profusely as the kunai dug into his neck. Back off, it's alright, Kakashi said, and the Anbu guard quickly shushined back to his position. Oh, okay, not doing that again, Naruto said as he rubbed the spot on his neck where the kunai had been. Well, Naruto, you better tell your girls then get packing. Wait, before I go, there's something I've been wanting to try, Naruto said as he channeled chakra into his Rinnegan. I've been training with my Rinnegan extensively recently, and I've wanted to try and bring a few people back to life. Quote. Naruto, what are? Kakashi was stopped when Naruto started weaving hand signs. Rinne Tensai no Jutsu. Naruto suddenly found himself back in the black void he was in the last time he used the jutsu. As Naruto walked through the void, he was having trouble finding the people he was looking for. Suddenly, off in the distance, he spotted some of the people he was seeking. He walked over to the group that consisted of the 7 deceased Jinchuriki. Quickly he walked up to each one of them and tapped them on the shoulder, sending them back to the real world, hopefully near their villages. After saving the dead Jinchuriki, Naruto continued walking. He spotted another one his targets. He spotted Itachi Uchiha speaking with another man who also had the Uchiha logo on the back of his shirt. The two were laughing as if they were old friends, so when Naruto brought Itachi back to life, he also saved his friend. As Naruto continued on, he spotted a small campfire. He walked over and saw Asuma and the Sandaime Hokage sitting around the fire talking. A few tears sprang to Naruto's eyes as he spotted the man he saw as his grandfather. Then he turned to Asuma and his gaze softened. I have to bring him back. He has to be there to help Kurenai-sensei raise their child. Naruto thought as he walked over to Asuma and tapped him on the shoulder. I just wish I could be there to help her. Asuma said as he took a long drag from his cigarette. I know, son, but Kurenai is a strong woman, she can handle it. I know, it's just that. Asuma stopped as his body started to glow. What the hell is going on? It looks like you're being called back, my son. Hiruzen said as he inhaled from his pipe. Looks like you might get to see your child after all. I swear if this is a reanimation again, I'll kick the jutsu casters. Asuma said as he faded away. I don't think that was a reanimation. I bet you had something to do with this, Naruto-kun. Hiruzen thought with a smile as he stared into the fire. Naruto gazed at the Sandaime one last time before he continued his trek. As Naruto walked, he spotted another person he was looking for. Around another campfire, he spotted Obito Uchiha cuddling with a brown-haired girl as they sat near the fire. When Naruto got closer, he noticed that the girl was very beautiful. She appeared to be in her late 20s with brown hair that went to her shoulders, brown eyes, and purple rectangles on her face. Ah, that must be Rin. Naruto thought as he watched the pair for a moment. The two seemed to be having a conversation as they stared into the flames. Suddenly Rin burst out into a fit of giggles. Naruto smiled as he watched the pair. They reminded him of how the girls and him acted. Naruto walked up to the couple and tapped them on the shoulder. He watched as they faded away in each other's arms. When Obito and Rin were gone, Naruto continued his search. Alright, Ero Sennin, where are you? Naruto thought as he searched for his godfather. Suddenly Naruto spotted the man in question off in the distance. When he got closer, he saw that Jiraiya was giggling and frantically writing in a small notebook. Naruto then noticed that Jiraiya was staring into a mist-like substance in front of him. On closer inspection, Naruto noticed that the mist was filled with images of women in hot springs. Kami Ero Sennin, even in death you're a giant perv. Naruto as he walked over to his godfather. Just as Naruto was about to tap Jiraiya, he spotted something in the mist that nearly made him vomit. What the? Is that my mom and dad? Ah, my eyes. Naruto thought as he averted his eyes before the images were burned into his mind. When Naruto looked at Jiraiya, the whole pervert was scribbling in his notebook with a thin line of blood running from his nose. Ah, what the hell? That's your student Ero Sennin. Naruto thought as he slapped Jiraiya across the face instead of tapping him on the shoulder. Jiraiya started to fade away. When Naruto turned around, he saw that the mist was empty. He shivered as he tried to erase the images from his mind. Get me the hell out of here. Naruto thought as he cancelled the jutsu. Kakashi was starting to get worried, but he calmed down as Naruto slowly opened his eyes. So what happened? Kakashi asked just as the room was filled with a blinding light. When the light died down, 6 new figures stood in the room. Each of them had a look of utter confusion on their face. What? How am I alive? Obito said as he looked around the room. Oh, Obito. Rin. Kakashi said as he slowly stood up from his seat. Kakashi. Obito said as he stared at his friend. Then Obito turned his gaze and he saw Rin standing right next to him. We're alive. Rin whispered as she looked at Obito. Suddenly Rin and Obito felt Kakashi pull them into a crushing hug. Rin felt a few tears hit the back of her shirt. Rin, Obito, I'm so happy you're alive. Kakashi said as he tightly held his teammates. Kakashi then turned his gaze to Naruto, who was watching them as he panted slightly. Thank you, Naruto. Kakashi said as all eyes turned to Naruto. Gaki. Jiraiya said as he spun around to see his student standing behind him. Hey Ero Sennin. Naruto said with a grin as he tried to catch his breath. Oh, and Ero Sennin, you're ed up. Don't let me see you do anything like that again. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow when he heard this. I saw what you were looking at in the mist. Naruto said with frown. Jiraiya started to sweat when he heard this. Don't worry, I'm not mad, I'm just a little weirded out. I suggest you go find Bachan, Ero-sen, and she'll want to see you the most. Jiraiya nodded and walked towards the window. Kakashi, I'll speak with you later. Jiraiya said as he jumped out the window in search of Tsunade. So it was you who brought me back to life. Asuma said as he pulled out a cigarette, but when he went to light it he couldn't find his lighter. Right, I gave it to Shikamaru. Of course I brought you back, Asuma-sensei. I couldn't let Kurenai-sensei raise that kid on her own. Asuma's eyes widened when he heard this. Go find her, Asuma. I'll send Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji over in a bit. Quote. Asuma flashed Naruto a quick smile before he ran out the office to find Kurenai. Naruto then turned to see Itachi and the other mystery man staring at him. So this is the Naruto you were talking about? The man said. Yes, this is Naruto-kun. Excuse me, but who are you? Naruto said as he gestured to the mystery person. Oh, I'm Shisui Uchiha. The newly named Shisui said with a smile. You're Shisui? Question mark quote. Naruto-kun, why did you bring Shisui and I back to life? Well, I brought you back to life, because this village deserves to know the truth behind the Uchiha maker. Plus I felt you deserved a second chance, Naruto said before he gestured to Shisui. And I brought him back, because I saw you talking with him. So I figured you were close friends and I didn't want you to come back without any family. Okay, that's understandable, Itachi said as he closed his eyes. So what happened with Sasuke-kun? Naruto sighed before he took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Itachi, I had to kill Sasuke. Naruto watched as Itachi's eyes widened for a moment before he regained his composure. He was planning to kill the Biju, all the Kage, and me. Then the worst thing was, he killed my teammate Sakura, the girl I love. After that I had no remorse for him. I chased him down and I killed him. I'm sorry, Itachi, I failed you. Naruto was on the verge of tears, but he stopped when he felt an hand on his shoulder. He opened his eyes to see Itachi looking at him. Don't be upset, Naruto-kun, you didn't fail. Sasuke-kun was beyond saving, with his death you freed him from his darkness. Thanks, Itachi, Naruto said as he looked at the last two Uchiha. Well, I have to get going, so I'll leave you with Kakashi-sensei, oh I mean Hokage-sama. See you soon, Itachi, Shisui. Naruto then walked out the door in search of Team 10. As Naruto walked out of the tower he could hear Obito's yell from the street. What do you mean this bastard is Hokage? Question mark quote. Naruto used his Hiraishin to teleport around the village. He first told each of his girls about their mission and that they needed to pack. The last girl he need to tell was Ino. He teleported right in front of the Yamanaka flower shop and walked in the door. He saw Ino rearranging some flowers as he walked into the shop. Ino nearly jumped out of her skin when she felt a pair of arms around her waist. She whipped her head around to see Naruto resting his head on her shoulder. Oh Naruto-kun, you startled me. Ino said as she gave her boyfriend a quick kiss. Why are you here? Well, Ino-chan, Kakashi-sensei gave me a mission as a part of my Hokage training. I'm to travel to each of the major shinobi villages to check up on their current situation. And Kakashi is allowing me to bring you girls along with me. Ino's eyes lit up at the prospect of traveling with Naruto and the other girls. So I need you to pack and get ready, Naruto said as he released Ino from his grasp. But before you do, head over to Kurenai-sensei's house. What? Why? Ino said in a confused tone. Just trust me, Ino-chan, you'll be in for a surprise when you get there. Naruto said cryptically before he teleported out of the shop to get the remaining members of Team 10. Kurenai had just set her daughter down for a nap when she heard a few knocks at her door. But as she neared the door a familiar scent hit her nose. Cigarette smoke, it's probably Shikamaru. Kurenai thought as she opened the door. Shikamaru, what can I do? Kurenai stopped dead when she saw who was standing in her doorway. Asuma. Yeah, Kurenai, it's me. How are you alive? I saw your body, you were dead. You can thank Naruto. He's the one who brought me back. Asuma said as Kurenai pulled him into a hug, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe you're back. Kurenai said as she cried into Asuma's shoulder. Yeah, I'm back, and I'm not going anywhere this time. Asuma said as he held Kurenai closer. Then from the other room Asuma heard a shrill cry. Is that? Asuma said as he looked past Kurenai towards where the cries were coming from. Kurenai nodded her head in response. See, can I see her? Of course she's your daughter after all. Kurenai said as she led Asuma to where their daughter was lying down. Asuma quickly put out his cigarette before he followed Kurenai. When they arrived in the room, Asuma looked down at the crying child. He turned to Kurenai and she nodded, so he gently picked up his daughter and cradled her in his arms. Instantly the girl stopped crying as Asuma slowly rocked her back and forth. She's beautiful, Asuma said as he looked down at his child, who had fallen back asleep. Yeah, she is, Kurenai said as she wrapped her arms around Asuma's waist. As Kurenai and Asuma stood in each other's embrace, a few knocks came from the door. I'll get it, you should spend some more time with your daughter. Kurenai said as she planted a quick kiss on Asuma's cheek before she walked towards the door. Ino had just arrived at Kurenai's home when she spotted Shikamaru and Choji already standing outside the door. Hey Shika, Choji, Ino said happy to see her teammates. What are you two doing here? Naruto told me to come here. He said it was really important. Choji said as he ate a handful of chips. Same here, and he woke me from my nap, so this better be really important. Shikamaru replied as he stifled a yawn. Well, knock on the door, you lazy. This is so troublesome. Shikamaru said as he raised his arm and lazily knocked on the door. After a few moments Kurenai answered the door with a big smile on her face. When she saw Team 10 standing there her eyes widened. Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, get in here now. Kurenai said as she dragged all three of them into her home. Kurenai-sensei, what's the big deal? Ino asked as Kurenai continued to drag them through her home. She stopped dragging them outside a closed door. Open the door. Shikamaru reached out and opened the door slowly. The members of Team 10 spotted a lone figure standing in the room. When the person turned around they all gasped. Hey you three, Asuma said with a big smile. Ino hesitantly walked forward and touched Asuma on the shoulder. You are real, Ino yelled out as she hugged Asuma. Asuma let Ino hug him as he looked at the two remaining members of Team 10. Choji had dropped his bag of chips and was stuttering incoherently as he fought back tears. Wah, how, why? Then Shikamaru spoke up. It was Naruto, wasn't it? You're as smart as ever, Shikamaru. Asuma said as he grinned at his student. Shikamaru walked up to Asuma and pulled out his lighter. I believe this is yours. Asuma looked at the lighter and shook his head. No, you keep it. If I want to raise this kid I can't be smoking around her. Quote. Shikamaru smiled as he and Choji joined Ino in hugged Asuma. Hey, why don't we all head out for barbecue, like old times? All the members of Team 10 nodded as they walked out of Kurenai's home. Just before Asuma walked out the door, Kurenai pulled him in for a long kiss. It's good to have you back. Kurenai said as she hugged Asuma's arm. It's good to be back. Asuma said as he held his child and the woman her loved close. Tsunade sat in a local bar as she stared down into her drink. Several empty bottles of sake lay in front of her. All the patrons in the bar avoided the Sanin as she sulked in her seat. Shizune watched her master with a frown. She had been doing this the past few days, she had been slipping back into her old habits. Just like she was before she became Hokage. Shizune wanted to help her master, but she knew there was little she could do. So she just watched as Tsunade gulped down another shot of sake. The liquid burned as it went down Tsunade's throat. It was a familiar and comforting feeling, it helped her forget all her worries. As Tsunade stared into her empty cup her thoughts drifted to Jiraiya, and a few tears escaped her. Why did you have to leave me too, you old pervert? Tsunade mumbled as she laid her head down on her arms. I didn't know you'd miss me, Haim. Hey, I must be really drunk, I'm even hearing the old bastard now. Tsunade mumbled into her arms. Kami, you're still as beautiful as ever, Haim. Okay, now this is getting annoying. Tsunade said as she lifted her head up. Tsunade-sama. Shizune exclaimed as she frantically gestured behind Tsunade. What is it, Shizune? Tsunade asked as she looked at her other apprentice. Turn around. Tsunade sighed and turned around in her seat. When she did her eyes bulged. She saw Jiraiya standing there grinning at her. Hey Haim, did you miss me? What? How? Tsunade asked as she stood up from her seat and poked Jiraiya. Ah, this all the Gaki's doing. Naruto, thank you, Tsunade said before she pulled Jiraiya in for a hug. Jiraiya wrapped his arms around Tsunade and hugged her back. After a few moments though, Tsunade let out a growl. She pushed Jiraiya off her and slapped him across the face, sending him flying across the bar. Jiraiya rubbed the handprint on his face, as he watched Tsunade storm over to him. And now Haim, calm down. I don't feel like dying again. You bastard. You promised me you'd come back alive from that mission. Tsunade screamed as tears sprouted from her eyes. Do you have any idea how devastated Naruto was after he heard you had died? Tsunade's voice suddenly dropped to a mere whisper. Do you have any idea how lonely I've been since you've been gone? Quote. Jiraiya sighed as he stood up. He walked over to the crying Tsunade and hugged her again. He allowed her to cry into his chest for a few moments before he spoke. Shish Haim, I'm back now, and I promise I won't leave you alone again. Quote. Tsunade pulled back and looked into Jiraiya's eyes. You promise? Tsunade whispered as she lowered her gaze. Jiraiya cupped her chin and made her look him in the eyes. I promise, Jiraiya said with conviction as they stared into each other's eyes. They found themselves leaning forward. Suddenly Tsunade pressed her lips against Jiraiya's. It was a gentle kiss, but it showed all the care and love they held for one another. When Jiraiya broke the kiss, Tsunade had a dreamy look on her face. They stared into each other's eyes for a few more moments before Tsunade smiled. Well, you old pervert, why don't we go on a date? I think you've finally earned one. Jiraiya's eyes lit up when he heard this. Really, Haim? Yeah, come on, I know this great restaurant we can go to, Tsunade said as she grabbed Jiraiya's arm. Shizune, you're free to do whatever you want for a while. Shizune smiled as she watched her master leave with Jiraiya arm in arm. But now she had nothing to do. I wonder what Kakashi-kun is doing. Shizune thought as she stood up to go pay the Hokage a visit. Hokage Tower. While Naruto was teleporting around the village to prepare for his mission, Kakashi was still in with office with his two teammates and two uchi. Currently Obito was sulking in a chair across from Kakashi, while Rin was trying to soothe him. I still can't believe that you, Hokage, Obito said as anime tears fell from his eyes. Why did Naruto have to bring me back to life? Quote. Kakashi's sweat dropped as he watched his friend whining like a child. Wow, he really changed in a short amount of time. It's like he's back to his old self. Obito, what happened to you? It seems like you're back to your old self. Kakashi asked, causing Obito to perk up. Obito smiled and pulled Rin onto his lap. It's all thanks to this beautiful woman, Obito said as he kissed Rin on the cheek, causing her to blush. Once I was reunited with her, I was happy beyond belief, especially when she told me that she loved me. Quote. Rin playfully smacked Obito's arm as her face burned red. Obito-kun, be quiet, you're embering me. What, I can't brag about my beautiful girlfriend? Obito said with a grin. Kakashi watched his two teammates with an eye smile. They reminded him of Naruto and Sakura, but watching them also made Kakashi realize he didn't have a special woman in his life. Kami, I need to get a girlfriend. Kakashi thought as he sighed and stood up. He walked over to his teammates who were still arguing, but neither of them seemed angry. Again, this reminded him Naruto and Sakura. How they always used to argue over stupid little things like an old married couple. But they were never really mad at each other, and they'd make up a few minutes later. Obito, you know this puts me in a precarious situation. Kakashi said as he stood in front of his teammates. What do you mean? Obito asked as he let Rin out of his lap. Well, the other villages aren't exactly going to take you being alive very well. Kakashi said as he pinched the bridge of his nose. He could already hear the Raikage and the Tsuchikage yelling at him. He knew Gaara and the Mizukage would be more understanding, but the other two were stubborn bastards and would be hard to convince. So what do you suggest we do, Kakashi-kun? Rin said with a worried look on her face. Well, I'm sorry to say this, but there's no way we can let you be a shinobi again, Obito. I'll have to seal off your chakra, so you won't be able to use any jutsus or use your Sharingan, Kakashi said, making Obito's head drop. Then Kakashi turned to face Rin. Rin, if you want to, I can re-enlist you into our forces, or I can find you a position in the hospital. I don't think I want to be a shinobi anymore. I want to be able to spend time with Obito-kun. So I'll take a job at the hospital, Rin said with a smile. Okay, I'll inform Tsunade-sama, and have her find you a position. You also may want her to give you a quick refresher, because medical ninjutsu has advanced greatly since you've been gone. Kakashi said, trying to shy away the subject of Rin dying. Arigato Kakashi-kun, but do you think sealing his chakra away will be enough to help Obito? Rin asked as she shot a glance at Obito. His eyes were on the floor, and it looked as if he were thinking about something. I don't know, but it most likely won't be. But I believe Naruto will convince the other village leaders. That boy has an amazing way with words sometimes, and he can sway even the most stubborn man to his side. Kakashi said, making Rin perk up. I'd love to meet this Naruto. Obito has told me so much about him, and he sounds like an amazing person. Rin said, wanting to find out who Naruto was. Yes, he is truly remarkable. He's Minato-sensei's son, you know. Kakashi said, making Rin's eyes widen. Kushina-sama was pregnant. Rin exclaimed. Yes, Naruto's so much like her it's uncanny. One of his girlfriends is also eerily similar to Kushina-sama. Kakashi replied, making Rin's eyes narrow. What do you mean? One of his girlfriends? Rin asked, her voice a dangerous tone. Well, you see, Naruto is the last Namikaze and the last male Uzumaki. So when Tsunade-sama was Hokage, she put Naruto in the Clan Restoration Act. This allows Naruto to take on multiple wives to help restore his family. Kakashi explained, causing Rin to relax slightly. Okay, I guess that's alright, but he better treat those girls right. Don't worry, Naruto would never dream of upsetting one of his precious people. So you don't have to worry about him mistreating one of his girls. Kakashi said with a smile. Then Kakashi turned his gaze back to Obito. Obito, are you alright? How are you taking this? Kakashi asked as he put his hand on his friend's shoulder. Yeah, I'm fine. It just sucks that I can't be shinobi anymore. I have no doubts that Naruto will be able to convince the other leaders. But long as I have Rin by my side, I don't care if I'm not a shinobi. Obito said as he smiled at Rin. Ah, Obito-kun, Rin said as she leaned over and gave Obito a quick kiss. You may not be able to be a shinobi, but I think I have an offer that may entice you. Kakashi said as he turned to Itachi and Shisui. Itachi and Shisui, this offer is for you two as well. I was planning on restarting Konoha's police force, and I was thinking you three could set everything up. Kakashi said, getting all three Uchiha's attention. That is a very tempting offer, Kakashi, Shisui said as he turned to Itachi. So what do you think? Like you said, it's a very tempting offer. The Uchiha used to run the police force until the Maker, Itachi said as he cupped his chin and closed his eyes. I think it would be very beneficial to restart the police force. It would free up Anbu and Shinobi from having to stop crimes. Hearing this, Kakashi turned back to Obito. If you do this, I may be able to allow you to access a small amount of your chakra after a while. I'd still have to clear it with the other villages, but I believe if you behave yourself and prove your innocence, they'll allow you to access some of your chakra after a probationary period. Kakashi said, making Obito's eyes widen. I think you should do it, Obito-kun. It will give something useful to do, and you'll still be an aide to the village. Rin said, wanting to cheer Obito up. So you three, will you do it? Kakashi asked the three Uchiha. All three of them looked at each other and nodded. I'm in, Itachi said as he stepped forward. If he's in, then I'm in. Shisui said as he too stepped forward. Kakashi smiled under his mask, then turned to look at Obito. Ah, what the hell, I'm in. Obito said. He stood up from his seat. Well then, congratulations, you three are the first police officers in Konoha's new police force. I'll have the plans for the building drawn up soon. You three will overlook the project every step of the way. Any changes you want to make, tell me, and we'll make them, Kakashi said, making the three Uchiha smile. If you three want, you can move back into the Uchiha district of the village. Quote. All three Uchiha looked at each other and nodded again. Great, since that's settled, why don't we all go get something to eat? I'll pay. Kakashi said, making Obito smirk. Ha, you pay, I'll believe it when I see it. Obito said as he offered Rin his hand. Rin smiled and took Obito's hand as they walked out of the room and into the hallway. Itachi and Shisui turned to follow Obito and Rin, but Shisui was stopped before he walked out the door. He turned to see Kakashi's hand on his shoulder. What can I do for you, Kakashi? Shisui asked in a confused tone. I have one mission for you before you join the police force. Kakashi said in his Hokage voice. Sure, anything, Hokage-sama, Shisui said as he closed the door. I just ignited Naruto and his girls a mission to travel to each of the shinobi villages. All of the girls are pregnant, and I want you and a few other shinobi to go along just to be safe. The mission should at most take 4 months, so their pregnancies shouldn't really affect their shinobi abilities. But I want to be extra careful, Kakashi said as he handed Shisui a manila envelope with the mission details in it. Shisui looked over the mission details and nodded. Okay, Hokage-sama, I agree. Shisui said, making Kakashi smile. Good, now let's go get something to eat. You can tell Itachi after lunch, Kakashi said as he opened the door, letting Shisui walk past him. Just before Kakashi started walking to catch up with everyone else, he was stopped when he heard someone speak to him. Hello, Kakashi-kun. Kakashi turned around to see Shizune standing behind him. Oh, hello, Shizune, what can I do for you? Kakashi asked as he smiled at Shizune. Oh, nothing, I was just wondering if you wanted to do something with me. Shizune asked as her face turned red. I'm sorry, I can't right now. I'm going out to lunch with a couple friends, Kakashi said, making Shizune's head drop. But you're welcome to join us. Then maybe later on tonight you and me can go out to dinner. Shizune's head shot up and a happy smile spread across her face. Really? Yeah, come on, Kakashi said as he started walking down the hall. Shizune quickly ran after Kakashi. When she caught up to him, she held onto his arm as they walked to the restaurant. 4 hours later, the sun was starting to set as sat Naruto in his apartment. All his girls were getting in some last-minute training to prepare for their mission before they all went out to dinner together. As Naruto sat on his couch, he closed his eyes and concentrated. A moment later, he was inside his mind, standing in front of a sleeping Kurama. Oi, get the hell up, you lazy fox, Naruto yelled as he nudged Kurama's paw with his foot. What do you want, Gaki? Kurama asked without opening his eyes. I want you to contact the other Biju, except for Gyuki. I need to speak with them about something. Fine, whatever, Kurama said with a grunt as he contacted the other Biju. Suddenly the other 7 Biju appeared in a circle around Naruto. You called us here, Naruto-kun? Matabi purred out. Yeah, Gaki, why did you summon us? Shukaku asked as he crossed his arms. Well, I have something important I need to tell you guys, Naruto said as he made sure all the Biju were paying attention. I brought all your previous Jinchuriki back to live. All the Biju, except for Kurama, went wide-eyed when they heard this. And I wanted to know if you guys possibly wanted to be sealed back inside your Jinchuriki. Several of the Biju, mainly Isobu, Son Goku, and Kokuo, narrowed their eyes when they heard this. Why would we want to do that? Isobu said in slightly angered tone. I thought that maybe you guys could have a relationship with your Jinchuriki like me and Kurama have. I mean, Kurama and I used to hate each other, but now we're friends, Naruto said as he grinned at Kurama. The nine-tailed fox just turned his head away in emberment. I've shown you all that people can change. If you all give your Jinchuriki a chance, I'm sure you can be friends with them. They'll have your back and you'll have theirs. Please just think about it. I know that humans and Biju can live together if we just make an effort to get to know each other, Naruto said pianely. All the Biju glanced at each other, waiting to see who would speak up first. But all the Biju were surprised at who spoke up first. Sure, I'll give it a chance. All the Biju went wide-eyed when they heard Shukaku speak up first. I got to know Gaara better during the war. I want to try and make up for how I treated him as a child. Thank you, Shukaku, Naruto said as he bowed his head to the One-Tails. So what about the rest of you? Quote, why not? Yugito and I had a stable relationship. It would be nice to see if we could be friends, Matabi said with a smile. Same here, me and Fu pretty much stayed out of each other's hair. So I'd like to try and be friends with her, Chome said with a buzz of his wings. One by one the other Biju started to agree, some of them took some extra convincing. But eventually Naruto got all of the Biju to agree to be sealed back inside their Jinchuriki. I thank you all for your cooperation. I'm sure that you'll all be able to work with Jinchuriki and become friends, right buddy? Naruto said as he turned to Kurama. Yeah, whatever the Gaki says, now would you all kindly leave, I wanna get some sleep. Kurama said as he laid his head onto his arms. Well, I'll see you guys soon. Once I find your Jinchuriki and convince them, I'll contact you and we'll have you sealed back inside your Jinchuriki, Naruto said, causing all the Biju to nod. He then turned to Shukaku. I'll be heading to Suna first. I'm sure Gara will have no problem with this, so I'll be contacting you soon. I'll be looking forward to it, Gaki. Shukaku said before he disappeared. One by one each of the Biju said their goodbyes. Eventually it was just Naruto and Kurama. Well, that went well, Naruto said to himself. I'll talk to you soon, buddy. Naruto walked up to Kurama and started to scratch behind his ear. This caused Kurama to let out a soft purr. Naruto stopped dead when he heard this. Did you just purr? Naruto asked as he tried to hold in his laughter. No, you're hearing things. Kurama said, extremely embered. You totally did, Naruto exclaimed before he started rolling on the floor laughing. Get thee out of here, Gaki. Kurama roared, making Naruto stand up, but he was still laughing slightly. Sure thing, you big softy. Naruto said before he exited his mind. Kurama laid his head back down, still flushed with emberment. Stupid Gaki, why'd he have to stop? That felt really good. Kurama grumbled to himself as he tried to fall asleep. The next day, 7 a.m. Naruto stood at the village gates as he waited for his girls to show up. Sakura was the first to show up. She let out a yawn as she approached Naruto. Morning, Sakura-chan, Naruto exclaimed as he waved at Sakura. Sakura winced at the volume of Naruto's voice. Baka, quiet down or you'll wake the whole damn village. Sakura said as punched Naruto's arm. Sorry, Sakura-chan, Naruto said with his usual foxy grin as he rubbed his arm. Naruto and Sakura stood quietly next to each other as they waited for everyone else to show up. After a few minutes, Naruto started to get fidget out of boredom. What's taking them so long to get here? Naruto whined like a bored child. I don't know, Naruto, just find something to take your mind of waiting. Sakura said as she pulled out her medical pouch and started to arrange its contents. Naruto had a perverted grin on his face as he wrapped his arms around Sakura's waist and started kissing her neck. Sakura let out a soft moan when Naruto started to nibble on her ear. Naruto, what are you doing? Sakura asked as she started to get turned on. I'm finding something to do. Naruto replied as he reached hand inside Sakura's shirt and started to mage her S. B Baka. Ooh, someone will see us. Sakura weakly replied as she tried to suppress her moans. I see an alleyway over there. Come on, Sakura, it's been a while since we've done anything intimate. We both need this and you know it. Naruto said as he started to mage Sakura's through her biker shorts. Fine, but real quick, I don't want anyone to see us. Sakura as she turned around to face Naruto. Naruto leaned down and captured her lips with his own. The kiss intensified as their tongues battled for dominance. Suddenly Sakura jumped up and wrapped her strong legs around Naruto's waist as he cupped her. Naruto quickly carried them into the alley and pinned Sakura's back against the wall. He quickly pulled down his pants and boxers, while she pulled down her shorts and pushed her panties to the side. Naruto quickly thrust his entire length into Sakura, causing them to both moan out in pleasure. After a moment, Naruto started to quickly pound into Sakura's wet. Her back scraped against the wall as she grabbed fistfuls of Naruto's hair. Ooh, Naruto, you're amazing. Sakura moaned out as she started to meet Naruto's thrusts with her own. Naruto just grunted and continued to rapidly thrust into Sakura. After a few more moments, he reached his limit. With one more particularly hard thrust, Naruto shot his load into Sakura. The feeling of Naruto's cum shooting into her sent Sakura over the edge. She bit into his shoulder to suppress her scream as she orgasmed. Naruto rested his forehead against Sakura's as they both panted lightly. Then Naruto kissed the purple diamond on Sakura's forehead and smiled at her. I love you, Sakura-chan. Naruto said, making Sakura's eyes water. I love you too, Naruto. Sakura said as she leaned in and kissed Naruto. But their sweet moment was ended when they heard someone speak behind them. Room for one more in there. Naruto and Sakura broke their kiss and snapped their heads to the voice. They saw Anko grinning at them at the alley's entrance. Naruto quickly pulled up his pants and boxers, and Sakura fixed her panties and pulled up her shorts. Ah, come on, I was enjoying the show. Anko whined as Naruto and Sakura both madly blushed. There will time for that later, Anko-chan. Naruto said as he grabbed Sakura's hand and led them out of the alley. You promise? Anko said as grabbed Naruto's free arm. Of course, Anko, and I never break my promises. Naruto said with a grin. Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that. Anko said with a smile. When the three of them exited the alley, they spotted the rest of the girls along with Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade waiting at the gates. But to Naruto's surprise, Shisui, Choji, and Sai were also standing amongst the group. Hey everyone! Naruto yelled, making everyone turn to face him. Naruto gave each of his girls a kiss. He then hugged Tsunade and greeted Jiraiya and Kakashi. After greeting Kakashi, Naruto gave his former sensei a confused look. Sensei, why are Shisui, Choji, and Sai here? Also, why do you look so tired, sensei? Oh, they'll be going with you on your mission. I wanted to give you just a little extra backup to be safe. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Oh, and I'm tired, because I was out late last night with Shizune. Hearing this made everyone, especially Tsunade, go wide-eyed. What, we just went out to dinner, and we were up late talking. Kakashi explained, feeling everyone's eyes on him. Good job, Kakashi, I knew you had it in you. Jiraiya said as he slapped Kakashi on the back. Kakashi, I swear you better not hurt her. Tsunade warned in a dangerous tone. As Tsunade was warning Kakashi, Naruto turned to the newest members of his team. Okay, well then, welcome to the team, guys. Naruto said as he smiled at the three new members to his team. I'm happy to help, Shisui said with a smile. I'm a member of Team 7, so I'm always happy to help you and Sakura. Sai said as rested a hand on Naruto's shoulder. It'll be fun, plus I'll get to try a lot of awesome food. Choji said as he offered Naruto some chips. Naruto then turned to his girls. So are you all ready? They all nodded and picked up their bags. Okay everyone, we'll be back soon. Naruto said as he gave Tsunade another hug. Be safe, Gaki, Tsunade said before she leaned in and whispered into Naruto's ear. And please keep them safe too. Of course, Bachan, Naruto said as he tightened the hug. Then Naruto turned to Jiraiya and gave his master a manly hug. I'll see you soon, Naruto, and when you get back you'll have to show me all your new skills. Jiraiya said with a smirk. Of course, Ero Sennin, Naruto exclaimed enthusiastically. But before Naruto could turn around, Jiraiya quickly grabbed his shoulder. He leaned and whispered in Naruto's ear. One more thing. Why do you have all these girls with you? Oh, they're all my girlfriends. Bachan put me in the CRA, so they'll eventually be my wives. Naruto said with a grin as he watched Jiraiya's face. Even Conan. Yes, even Conan, Naruto said with a smirk. Why, you're living the dream, kid. Jiraiya said as he peed out with blood running out his nose. Damn pervert. Tsunade sighed as she hefted Jiraiya over her shoulder. Did something happen between you two? Naruto asked, making Tsunade turn red. What are you talking about? Tsunade stammered out. Well, you'd usually beat the shit out of Ero Sennin, or at least yell at him. Quote. Tsunade stumbled over her words as she tried to come up with an excuse. Naruto just smiled as he watched her. Don't worry, Bachan, I'll keep it a secret. Naruto then turned around and started to walk towards the gate, leaving a flustered Tsunade behind him. Well, girls and boys, let's get going. Naruto yelled out as he started to sprint down the road. Sakura just sighed as she started to run after him with everyone else in tow. I swear he has too much damn energy. Sakura said with a small smile on her face. But's another thing I love about him. He's like a damn child sometimes, but at others he most mature person in the room. So which village are we headed to first? Tenten asked as she caught up to Naruto. We're headed to Suna first. Man, I can't wait to see Gara. Naruto said with a smile as he continued running. Tenten hid the smirk that spread across her face. Tamari, I'm coming for you, and I'm bringing some serious payback. 3 days later, just outside Suna, Naruto's group had set up camp in a small cave about a half-day's travel from Suna. They were making good time. Hopefully they could be in Suna by around midday. Currently Naruto was staring into the dying flames of the campfire, while the rest of the group slept. Naruto was in deep thought as he gazed into the flickering flames. He was roused from his thoughts when he heard someone speak behind him. You're still up. Naruto turned his head to see Sakura standing behind him. She stifled a yawn as she walked over to him, her pink hair in a mess as she rubbed the sleep out of her eyes. When she reached Naruto, she quietly sat next to him and stared into the fire as well. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Sakura spoke up. So why are you still up? I was just thinking. Ha, you thinking? Yeah, right. Sakura said, earning a childish pout from Naruto. She slapped him on the arm playfully, and giggled when she saw his face. I was just kidding. So what were you thinking about? I was just thinking about how much my life has changed in the past few months. I mean, I'm on a mission that is gonna help me with my Hokage training. I've been put in the CRA and I've got 7 amazing girlfriends that can hopefully be my wives one day, and I'm gonna be a father in less than a year. Naruto said as he continued to stare into the flames. Sometimes I wonder if this all just a dream or something. Sakura rested her head against Naruto's shoulder and gripped his arm. Well, Naruto Uzumaki, this isn't a dream. You are on your way to becoming Hokage. You do have 7 beautiful girlfriends, you are gonna be a father, and I love you so much. Sakura said, causing a smile to spread across Naruto's face. I love you too, Sakura-chan. I love all you girls. I know, Naruto, all of us know. Sakura said as she gripped Naruto's arm a little tighter. Comfortable silence washed over them again. But this was broken when Naruto felt Sakura lightly push away from him. He turned to see her biting her lip in nervousness. Sakura-chan, what's up? Naruto asked, worry evident in his voice. Now's the perfect time to tell him, so do it, inner Sakura said to her outer self. Naruto, I have something I've been meaning to say to you. What is it, Sakura-chan? Sakura took a deep breath and gazed into Naruto's blue eyes. I'm sorry. Sakura said, earning a confused look from Naruto. What are you sorry for, Sakura-chan? For everything. Sakura said as tears started to form in her eyes. For hitting you, for yelling at you, for ignoring you all those years, and for being an ignorant bitch. Quote. Sakura then wrapped her arms around Naruto and cried into his shoulder. Please forgive me, Naruto, she said in between sobs. Naruto wrapped his arms around Sakura and held her close. Sakura-chan, you don't get it, do you? Naruto asked in a soothing voice. What? Sakura asked, trying to wipe away her tears. You hit me, because you cared about me. Sakura's eyes widened when she heard this. She felt Naruto grasp her hands with his own. You yelled at me and hit me whenever I was taking things too far, or when I was doing something stupid or perverted. It was your own way of showing that you were worried about me. Whenever I was reckless and got hurt, you'd yell at me and scold me. But even though you'd call me an baka, I knew that you were just worried about me. You didn't want me to make any mistakes that could get me hurt. Your scolding helped set me on the right path, Sakura-chan. Quote. Fresh tears had formed in Sakura's eyes as she listened to Naruto. You're my cherry blossom, who helped me bloom into the man I am today. A smile spread across Sakura's face as tears continued to flow from her eyes. Why, you're such a baka. Sakura said as she pulled Naruto into another tight hug. I love you so much. I love you too, Sakura-chan. Naruto said as he kissed her forehead. They sat like this for a few minutes. Naruto let Sakura hold onto him tightly as they sat by the fire. Did my mother tell you what one of her dying wishes was? Naruto asked suddenly. No, she never mentioned anything like that to me. Well, before my father sealed Kurama inside me, he let my mother say her final words to me. Naruto took a breath to calm his nerves before he resumed speaking. She told me to eat right, to get plenty of sleep, to bathe every day, to study my ninjutsu and respect my teachers, to make friends, to have a dream, to adhere to the 3 shinobi prohibitions, and, Naruto looked into Sakura's eyes and cupped her chin. She told me to find a woman like her to fall in love with. That woman has always been you, Sakura-chan. Quote. Really? You think I'm like your mother? Are you kidding? All you're missing is her long red hair and her violet eyes. Except for that, you're practically her twin. Sakura just blushed and hugged Naruto again. As they held each other, Naruto ran his fingers through Sakura's silky hair. You're growing your hair out. Naruto said with a smile. Yeah, You said you liked when my hair was longer, so I thought I'd give it a try. Sakura said as she ran a hand through her hair, which now went past her shoulders. Well, it looks great, Sakura-chan. Naruto said as he gave her a chaste kiss. Now get some sleep, we're leaving early tomorrow. Quote, okay Naruto, but you need to get some sleep too. Sakura said as she stood up. I will, don't worry. Naruto said with a grin. I love you Naruto. Sakura said as she walked over to her sleeping bag. I love you too, Sakura-chan. Naruto stared into the flames for a few more minutes before he got up and went to bed. The next day, a sandstorm had delayed the group's departure by several hours. They didn't arrive in Suna until the sun was setting. As the group approached the village entrance, several guards appeared in front of them. Halt. State your names and business. The lead guard said as he held up his hand. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and this is my team, Naruto said as he gestured towards the rest of the group. We're here on a mission directly from the Hokage. So we need to see Gaara immediately. You will address the cage with respect, you little. The guard was stopped when a voice spoke up behind him. That is quite enough, Baki. Baki turned to see Gaara standing behind him. Cage-sama, Baki exclaimed before he quickly bowed to Gaara. These Konoha shinobi were asking to see you. They said something about a mission directly from the Hokage. I know. Kakashi sent word that Naruto and his team would be coming soon. I've actually been expecting them for a while now. Gaara said before he turned his gaze to Naruto. You and your team can follow me to the cage tower. Everyone on Naruto's team nodded and followed Gaara through the village. Since it was past sunset, the streets were mostly empty. It only took the group a few minutes to get from the village entrance to the cage tower. After being led through the halls, our group eventually found themselves in Gaara's office. Alright Naruto, what is your mission here? Kakashi alerted me that you'd be coming, but he didn't give me details as to why you're here. Well, this mission is supposed to be the first step in my Hokage training. My team and I are to travel to each of the hidden villages with Biju and check up on their current situation. Quote. Gaara closed his eyes and nodded. I see, I'll be happy to inform you of our village's current status, Gaara said as he turned his gaze to the rest of Naruto's group. But I'd rather discuss this in private. So I'll have Matsuri escort the rest of your team to their rooms. Tenten was about to speak up, but Naruto stopped her. That's fine Gaara, Naruto said as he turned to his girls and smiled. You girls go get some rest, it's been a long day. Quote. All of the girls nodded and followed Matsuri, who had just shown up, to their rooms. But before Choji, Sai, and Shisui could follow them, Naruto stopped them. You three make sure nothing happens to any of them. Quote. Hi. The three boys said simultaneously. Naruto nodded and the three of them left to find their rooms. When Naruto turned around, he saw a rare smirk grace Gaara's face. What? You have a lot to tell me later. Quote. Naruto sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. Sure, we'll talk about that later, but right now I have something important I need to discuss with you. Oh, and what would that be? Gaara said as he leaned back in his chair. Naruto took a deep breath before he spoke. Shukaku wishes to be sealed back inside you. Gaara's eyes widened slightly as he sat back forward. What did you just say? I've spoken with Shukaku and he wants you to be his Jinchuriki again. Quote. Why would he want to do that? He said he wants to try and make amends for what he did to you as a child. I've changed all the Biju's view on humans, and they all wish to give their Jinchuriki another chance. Quote. Gaara clasped his hands and closed his eyes. I hold no ill feelings towards Shukaku. If he wishes to be sealed within me again, I'm willing to give it another chance, Gaara replied, making Naruto smile. However, I will need to speak with council about this, so give me a few days to prepare. Sure thing Gaara, I'll contact Shukaku and inform him of your decision. Very well, Gaara said as he leaned back in his chair. Now let's get down to business. Almost 3 hours had passed before Gaara had finished briefing Naruto on the village's status. Well, that's about everything, Gaara said as he sipped from a cup of tea. Good, I'll send a report to Kakashi-sensei tomorrow, Naruto said as he stood to leave. Well, I'll see you tomorrow Gaara. Right before Naruto could walk out the door, Sand pushed the door closed. Naruto turned to see Gaara smirking at him again. Where do you think you're going, Uzumaki? You still have some things to tell me. Gaara said, motioning for Naruto to take a seat. Damn it, I was hoping you had forgot. Naruto muttered under his breath as he sat back down. So what's going on with you and those girls? You seem awfully protective around them. Naruto scratched the back of his head in emberment as he spoke. Well, you see, I'm the last male Uzumaki, and the last Namikaze. So before Tsunade Bachan stepped down as Hokage, she put me in the CRA. Gaara nodded in recognition. I've heard of the program. Well, those girls are all my future wives. Naruto said as a blush spread across his face. Even Sakura-san. Yes, Sakura-chan was the first to join actually. Naruto said, causing a small smile to grace Gaara's face. I always knew you two would get together. I could tell you really loved her, especially after you fought against me. Quote, yeah, I love all of the girls, I'd give my life to keep them all safe, Naruto said. But what he said next made Gaara's eyes widen. Especially since they're all pregnant. They're all pregnant? Yes, Naruto said with a big smile. They're all having one, except for Hinata-chan who's having twins and Sakura-chan who's having triplets. That's a lot of children, Naruto, I hope you're prepared. Quote, I will admit I'm a little nervous, but with the girls' help I know we'll do fine. You'll be a great father, Naruto. Gaara said as he smiled at his friend. Thanks, Gaara, that means a lot. Naruto said, returning the smile. Well, that's all, you're free to go. Naruto stood to leave, but before he left he remembered something important he had forgotten to tell Gaara. Gaara, before I go I have something else important I need to tell you. Quote, what is it now, Naruto? Okay, I need you to not get mad at me. Whatever it is, Naruto, I'm sure it's not that bad. Naruto started to chuckle nervously as he rubbed the back of his head again. Oh, what if I told that I brought Obito Uchiha back to life? Gaara sat motionless as he stared at Naruto. Care to run that by me again? I brought Obito back to life. That's what I thought you said. Gaara replied as he rubbed his temples. I'm sure you have good reasons, Naruto, and I trust you completely. But this will likely cause hell with Kumo and Iwa. I'm not sure how the Mizukage will take this news, but Ain Onoki will likely throw a fit, Gaara said with a sigh. I will not inform the other villages of this news. All of this will be in your hands. Thank you for being so understanding, Gaara, Naruto said with a slight bow. Oh, and Gaara, one more thing. Gaara sighed heavily before he spoke. What did you bring Madara back to? Gaara asked sarcastically. No, I actually wanted to know where I might be able to find Temari. Gaara's eyes narrowed as he stared at Naruto. Why do you want to know where my sister is? Gaara said in a dangerous tone. I just wanted to speak with her about a few things, Naruto said nervously. That's all, I swear. Fine. She's likely on the roof. Gaara said as he stood to look out the window. Thanks, Gaara, I'll see you soon. Naruto said as he walked to the door. But right before he stepped out, Gaara's voice stopped him. Temari has taken her recent breakup with Shikamaru very hard, Gaara said as he turned his head to look at Naruto. So I want you to remember that we're surrounded by a vast desert. Plenty of places to hide the bodies of those who hurt my family. Do you understand? Oh, of course, Gaara. Naruto said before he practically sprinted out of the room. 5 minutes later, roof of the Cage Tower. Temari was staring out into the night sky as she leaned against the roof's railing. She was thinking about many things. But one thing that kept appearing in her mind was what Sakura had said to her. She knew Naruto was going to be in the village soon, but she didn't know if she could handle seeing him so soon. The Suna Kunoichi was so confused on her feelings for the blonde knucklehead. She struggled to find any reason to not give him a chance. But her breakup with Shikamaru had hurt her bad, and she didn't know if she was ready to let anybody have a chance at her heart yet. As Temari stared into the sky, she felt another chakra signature land on the roof. Believing it was just Gaara or Kankuro coming to check up on her, she didn't bother turning around. But when the newcomer leaned on the railing next to her, she snuck a glance at who it was. She nearly gasped when the man she had just been thinking standing right next to her. It's a beautiful night, isn't it? Naruto said as he stared into the clear starlit sky. Why, yeah, Temari stuttered out as turned her gaze away from Naruto. They stood in silence for a while and Temari was starting to feel a little uncomfortable. Why are you here, Naruto? Tamari asked as she turned her head to look at Naruto. I came to talk with you obviously. Naruto said as he flashed a grin at her, making her heart flutter a little. But why do want to talk with me? I heard about your breakup with Shikamaru, and I wanted to talk with you about it. Make sure you were holding up okay. Tamari tore her gaze from Naruto and bit her bottom lip. She didn't really want to discuss her breakup right now, but Naruto had come to comfort her and it might be good to get some things off her chest. I'm alright now, but it really hurt at first, Tamari said after a few moments of silence. I did love Shika, and I still care for him, but I guess we just weren't compatible. Naruto watched Tamari's eyes sadden. Wanting to cheer her up, Naruto did something daring. He stepped closer and wrapped his arm around Tamari's waist. Pulling her close, he let her rest her head against his shoulder as they stared into the night sky. Tamari was surprised at Naruto's sudden action. But she quickly found herself melting into his embrace, he just felt so warm and comforting. She unconsciously drew herself closer to Naruto. Tamari-chan, I'm truly sorry about what happened between you and Shikamaru, Naruto said, making Tamari blush at the added suffix. But I'm sure you'll find the right guy out there somewhere. Quote. Tamari turned her head to see Naruto giving her a beaming smile. Sakura is right, I should at least give him a chance. Tamari thought as she slowly pushed away from Naruto's embrace. Naruto, how would you like to hang out with me tomorrow? Tamari asked as her cheeks tinged pink. What, like a date? Yeah, a date. Sure thing, Tamari-chan, that sounds like fun, Naruto said with a smile as he turned to leave. Good night, Tamari-chan. Good night, Naruto, Tamari said with a smile. But before Naruto hopped off the roof, he flashed through a few hand signs. Tamari watched as a small cloud of smoke appeared in Naruto's hand. When the smoke cleared, Tamari saw a beautiful flower. Your beauty rivals this desert rose, Tamari-chan, Naruto said as he handed Tamari the beautiful flower. Tamari took the flower and clasped it over her rapidly beating heart. Feeling daring again, Naruto leaned forward and kissed Tamari's cheek before he quickly jumped off the roof. The Suna Kunoichi reached a hand up and touched the cheek Naruto had kissed. A blush spread across her face as she remembered Naruto's lips on her face. Tamari turned to look back at the sky as new thoughts raced through her mind. While she was staring into the sky, Tamari failed to notice a figure standing on a nearby rooftop. Tenten quickly hopped off the building's roof with a smirk on her face. You are not laying a finger on my man until I've had my payback, Tenten said to herself as she thought of ways to get her revenge. Same time in Konoha, Karen was walking back to her apartment after a grueling day of training under Tsunade and Shizune. It was a particularly cold night. As she walked the empty village streets, she hugged herself as a chill. Wind made shivers shoot through her body. Damn it, I hate this time of year, Karen muttered as she rounded a corner. But Karen stopped in her tracks when she heard a voice behind her. What's a pretty little thing like you doing out this late alone? Quote. Karen turned around to see a sleazy-looking man dressed in Chunin attire leering at her. What the hell do you want? Karen spat out as she took a step back. Ooh, you're a feisty one. I like that, the man said as he took a step forward. Now why don't you come with me, and we can have some fun? Karen turned to run, but the man reached out and grabbed her red hair. Where do you think you're going? The man said as he yanked Karen close. Someone help. Karen tried to scream more, but the man clasped a hand over her mouth. Hey, no need to wake everyone up, he said with a sleazy grin. Now why don't you stop fighting? Karen chose this moment to sink her teeth into the man's hand, tearing out a chunk of flesh. Ah, you bitch, the man yelled as he chid his bleeding hand. I was just gonna have some fun with you. But now it looks like I'm gonna have to rough you up a little. The man then pulled out a kunai and charged Karen. Karen spit out the chunk of flesh, and took a defensive stance, as she prepared for the charging man. But when the man was just a few feet away, he grunted and fell over unconscious. Karen's eyes widened when she saw a new figure standing over her wannabe rapist. The new figure's chakra was cool, collected, and very soothing, and it instantly relaxed her. The man had dark hair, and was wearing a Jonin vest, but it was blue instead of green. He also had a Konoha headband around his head, and sword strapped to his back. Are you alright? The dark-haired man asked. Why, yeah, I'm fine, but who are you? Karen asked, slightly shaken. I'm Itachi Uchiha, and I'm a Konoha police officer. The newly named Itachi said with a small smile. Wait, you're Itachi? I thought Sasuke killed you. Karen said as she pointed at Itachi. You knew Sasuke? Yeah, I was a part of his team when he was hunting you down, and when he wanted to destroy this village. Karen said the last part softly as she looked towards the ground. But answer my question, how are you alive? Oh, that's simple. Naruto-kun brought me back to life. Itachi said, making Karen's red eyes widen. Naruto brought you back, Karen said as she turned her gaze back to Itachi. Well, if he brought you back, then he must have had a good reason. I trust him completely. Itachi nodded and turned to look down the road. Obito, hurry up, will you? Itachi yelled just as Obito rounded the corner, panting. Man, Itachi, you need to slow down, Obito panted out as he rested his hands on his knees. You gotta remember, I don't have access to my chakra, so I can't use it to enhance my speed. I'll try to remember that next time, but right now I need you to take this man to Hokage-sama, Itachi said as he picked the criminal up and handed him to Obito, who slung the man over his shoulder. I'll be at the tower momentarily. Yeah, whatever. Obito grumbled out as he carried the criminal towards the tower. Itachi turned around to see Karen staring at him with her mouth agape. Was that who I thought it was? Karen stuttered out as she watched Obito round the corner. I'll explain it later, but he's on our side. Quote, it was Naruto again, wasn't it? Karen asked, earning a nod from Itachi, which made her pinch the bridge of her nose. Kami, he can be such a baka sometimes, but he must have his reasons. Karen said as she wrapped her arms around herself. Itachi frowned when he saw Karen shiver. I could escort you home if you'd like. Karen looked at Itachi for a moment before she nodded. As they walked, Karen found Itachi's chakra very enticing, and she found herself walking closer and closer to him. After 10 minutes they had arrived outside her apartment. Thank you for walking me home, Karen said with a small blush across her face. It was my pleasure, miss. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, Itachi said with an embered smile. Oh, my name is Karen, the redhead replied in a cheery tone. Karen Uzumaki. So you're an Uzumaki as well? Yep, Karen said in a happy tone. Well, it was nice meeting you, Karen, but I must get to the tower. Quote, but before Itachi could jump off, Karen stopped him. Wait, Karen exclaimed, causing Itachi to turn around. Is there something else I can do for you? Well, I was wondering if you maybe wanted to get something to eat sometime. Karen stuttered out with a mild blush across her face. Itachi thought for a moment before he smiled. I'd like that. With that, Itachi jumped off into the night, leaving a madly blushing Karen to squeal in happiness as she quickly entered her apartment. The next night, Naruto walked the streets of Suna on his way to the Cage mansion to meet Temari. As he walked, Naruto thought about what he and his girls had been doing all the day. The group tried to make themselves useful while they were in the village, so they helped where they could. Sakura and Ino went to the hospital to offer their eye stance. Shisui, Konan, and Hinata went to the local academy to help the teachers. Sai had run into Kankuro, and the both of them had went off towards Suna's Anbu headquarters. Anko and Choji dragged Ryazetsu along as they scoured the village looking for new foods to try out. Strangely, Tenten just took off on her own with a strange look on her face. Naruto spent most of the day filling out a report to send to Kakashi. After finishing his report, he managed to convince Gaara to sneak out of his office and get in a quick spar. Gaara had put up a decent fight, but in the end he was literally blown away by Naruto's new abilities. After scorching and rearranging a large portion of the desert, Naruto helped a battered and bruised Gaara walk back to the village. Baki and the other gate guards nearly ped out when they saw Gaara limp past them. But a quick explanation from Gaara calmed the guards down. Since Gaara had lost the spar, he made the mistake of offering to buy Naruto lunch. Gaara sat wide-eyed as he watched Naruto inhale all the food that was brought to him. So besides kicking the crap out of me, what else do you have planned today? Gaara asked, snapping out his stupor. Naruto stopped mid-bite when he heard Gaara speak. I'm a terrible liar. He'll be able to see right through any lies I come up with. I might as well just tell him. Naruto thought as he gulped down his food. Well, you know I'm Naruto muttered the last part so Gaara couldn't hear. What was that, Naruto? Gaara asked. He took a bite of his meal. I said I'm going on a date with Tamari. Naruto said, causing Gaara to nearly choke on his food. After forcing down the food in his throat, Gaara narrowed his eyes at Naruto. What did I tell you last night? Gaara said in a dangerous tone. See, calm down, Gaara. She's the one who asked me. Naruto exclaimed as he waved his hand defensively. Hearing this made Gaara's eyes widen slightly. Plus, I spoke with Shikamaru after the breakup, Naruto said as he looked Gaara in the eyes. He explained to me what happened, and he asked me to give Tamari a chance if she ever asked me out. I want to try and make Tamari-chan happy, Gaara. Gaara's eyes softened when he heard this. Closing his eyes, Gaara crossed his arms and let out a sigh. As Shikamaru would say, you truly are troublesome, Naruto, Gaara said as a small smile appeared on his face. If Tamari wants to date you, then you have my blessings. I trust her happiness to you, Naruto, but I would be wary of Kankuro. He may not take this as well as I have, he may not show it, but Kankuro is very protective with Tamari. Sure thing, Gaara, I'll keep that in mind, and don't worry, I'll do my best to make Tamari-chan happy, Naruto said as he stood to leave. Well, I gotta go. I have to check up on my team before I freshen up for tonight. As Naruto turned to leave, Gaara stopped him. One more thing before you go, Naruto. Gaara said, making Naruto turn to face him. Gaara's eyes shot open, and he aimed a darkened gaze at Naruto, causing him to flinch in fear. Remember what I said, if you hurt Tamari, you'll get to personally experience what a Sabaku Q feels like. That area we sparred in earlier would be the perfect place to hide a body, wouldn't you agree, Naruto? Naruto just shuddered and bolted out of the restaurant. Gaara smirked as he sipped his tea. That ought to make him fear me. Quote. Naruto did just as he told Gaara. He dashed around the village and checked up on his girls, and told them where he would be that night. Most of them were happy to hear he was giving Tamari a chance, especially Sakura. But when Naruto told Tenten, she just smirked and walked off, twirling a kunai around the end of her index finger. After meeting with all his girl, Naruto went to his room and freshened up for his date. Now he stood outside the Cage mansion, while he waited for Tamari emerge. After waiting for a few minutes, Tamari emerged dressed in the outfit Naruto had seen her wear at the 5-Cage summit. So what do you have planned tonight, Naruto? Tamari asked as she walked down the steps. Well, I thought we could go out and get a bite to eat, then I have a surprise for you. Naruto said with a foxy grin. Okay, lover boy, let's see what you have planned. Tamari said with a smirk as she followed Naruto. Neither one of them noticed the small eyeball following them. Naruto took Tamari to a decent restaurant near the edge of the village. Dinner went surprisingly well. Tamari was surprised at how much she actually enjoyed Naruto's company. He could be genuinely funny, making her burst out laughing on several occasions, and he had some amazing stories to tell. Tamari also loved how energetic Naruto was. It was a great change of pace. After dinner, Naruto led Tamari back out into the street. So, lover boy, what do you have planned next? Tamari asked as she subconsciously hugged Naruto's arm. Well, it's a surprise, Naruto said with another foxy grin. I'm gonna need you to hold on tight, and close your eyes. Quote. Why? Tamari asked, slightly confused. Do you trust me? Tamari blinked at Naruto before she nodded. Tamari closed her eyes, and she gripped onto Naruto tighter. There was a bright flash, and for a few seconds she felt completely weightless. Damn it, where did they go? Gaara said to himself as he stood in his office. Okay, you can open your eyes. Tamari heard Naruto's voice say. When Tamari opened her eyes, she had no idea where she was. Where are we? Tamari asked as she tried to figure out where they were. We're in Konoha, Naruto said, causing Tamari's head to snap to face him. How the hell are we all the way in Konoha? She asked, completely stunned. I figured out how to use my father's Hiraishin jutsu. So now, as long as I have something or someone tagged with a special seal, I can teleport right to them. Naruto grinned when he saw Tamari's stunned face. I secretly placed a seal on all the girls so I could be at their side in a moment's notice. Wow. Tamari breathed out as she looked at Naruto with a new perspective. But why did you bring us to Konoha? Quote. I figured you might like to relax in Konoha's famous hot springs. Naruto said as he gestured to a building behind them. Tamari squealed when she saw the building. She could already feel the water melting away all her stress. But then a thought came to her, and she narrowed her eyes. Naruto Uzumaki, is this some way for you to peep on me? Tamari said in a upset tone. Of course not, Tamari-chan, I would never stoop to peeping. Quote. Tamari just continued to stare at Naruto. Okay, fine. I may have kinda peeped when I was younger, Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his head. But I know never to peep on a kunoichi, especially one as strong as you. Quote. Tamari relaxed slightly and crossed her arms. Alright, but I swear to Kami if I catch you peeping I'll beat you're so bad not even Tsunade-sama can heal you. Message understood, Naruto said with a gulp. Now come on, I rented out the entire place, so it should just be us. Wow, that must have been expensive. Tamari said as they walked into the building. Yeah, it was, but I'm very good at saving my money. So I have a decent amount of money saved up from doing missions. Tamari just nodded as they both separated to go to their changing rooms. This is nice, isn't it, Tamari-chan? Naruto said as he sunk into the warm water. He rested his head against the barrier separating the men's side from the women's side. Yeah, this is the life. Tamari replied as she too rested her head against the barrier as she sunk into the relaxing water. They both sat in comfortable silence as they let the water soak away their stress. While she relaxed, Tamari's mind wandered and she started to think about the man in the springs right behind her. She had seriously misjudged the blonde baka. He was pretty much everything she could ever want in a man, and then some. But she still didn't know if she was fully ready to commit to another relationship. However, she was willing to give Naruto a chance, who knows, maybe he was the one she was searching for. All the other girls with Naruto seriously seemed happy to be with him. Hey Naruto, Tamari asked, breaking the silence. Yeah, Tamari-chan, I wanted to thank you. Tamari said, her face stained with a blush. What are you thanking me for? Naruto asked in a confused tone. For everything, Tamari said as she tried to calm her racing heart. Especially for everything you've done for my family. Are you talking about what I did for Gaara? Naruto asked as he laughed lightly. You don't need to thank me. I'm happy to have helped Gaara. No, Naruto, I do need thank you, the Suna Kunoichi said as she shed a hand over her fluttering heart. You dragged Gaara out of the darkness, and showed him the importance of love and having friends. If it weren't for you, I shudder to think of what Gaara may have become. Like I said before, I was happy to help, Naruto said, causing a smile to spread across Tamari's face. Gaara was a Jinchuriki like me, and I understood his pain better than just about anyone. Since we both shared the same pain, I knew what Gaara needed to see the light. I knew that if Gaara understood the power of love and the importance of having friends, that he could escape his darkness. Now Gaara is one of my closest friends, I would give my life to protect him, or any of my precious people. Tamari fought back tears as she listened to Naruto speak. Thank you, Naruto, Tamari said quietly as she choked back a sob. Hey, are you alright, Tamari-chan? Naruto asked, slightly concerned. You want a hug? Yeah, a hug would be. No way, you perv, Tamari yelled as her face flushed with emberment. Naruto burst out laughing from behind the barrier. Ha, I knew that would take your mind off what we were talking about, Naruto said as he sunk deeper into the water. Now just relax, Tamari-chan, we still have this place all to ourselves for another hour. So we can just sit back and talk about something else. Tamari crossed her arms and huffed. I will get you back for that, Naruto Uzumaki, Tamari said, making Naruto laugh again. I'll be looking forward to it. Quote. After another hour, Naruto and Tamari exited the hot springs and met out front of the bathhouse. So you ready to head back? Naruto asked when he met Tamari out front. Yup, Tamari said as she grabbed Naruto's arm. Before Naruto teleported them back, he pulled a kunai out and threw it. A few seconds later there was a scream and a crash. Tamari turned to see Jiraiya lying in a heap on the ground. Arrow Senin, I'm kicking your perverted when I get back from this mission, Naruto said as he teleported both of them away. Shit. Knowing how strong that kid is now, he could definitely kick my easily, Jiraiya thought as he stood up. But Jiraiya stopped dead when he heard Knuckles cracking behind him. He slowly turned to see Tsunade glaring at him with chakra flaring off her fist. You were peeping again, Jiraiya. Tsunade said as she took a step forward. And now Haim-C, calm down. Jiraiya said as he held up his hands defensively. Why do you keep peeping when you have me now? Tsunade said as she grabbed Jiraiya by his shirt and lifted him into the air. I was researching. Jiraiya said without thinking, but all color drained from his face when he saw Tsunade her fist back. Wrong answer. Tsunade growled out as her fist shot forward, hitting Jiraiya in the face, sending him flying across the village. Tsunade sighed as she followed the path Jiraiya had taken as he flew across the sky. That stupid baka, he'll never change. Tsunade said, shaking her head, but a small smile was on her face. In a yellow flash, Naruto and Temari stood in front of the Cage mansion. Well, we're here, Naruto said with a smile. I had an amazing time tonight, Naruto. Temari said, returning the smile. We should do this again before I leave. Naruto said as he stared into Temari's eyes. Why, yeah, Temari breathed out as she got lost in Naruto's electric blue eyes. They both stood getting lost in each other's eyes. Kiss her, you. Kurama roared from inside Naruto's mind. Ah, why the hell not? Naruto started to lean forward. But before their lips could touch, a kunai flew past their faces and embedded itself in the wall behind them. Hands off, my man. Both Naruto and Temari's heads turned to see Tenten standing a few feet away from them. She had several kunai in her in between her fingers. Tenten-chan, what are you doing? Naruto asked as he stepped towards her. You stay back. Tenten yelled as she pointed a kunai at Temari. This is between me and her. Quote, what do you want? Temari spat out as she glared at Tenten. You, me, right now, we're gonna have a rematch, Tenten said with a smirk. If you win I'll back off, but if I win you stay the hell away from my Naruto-kun. Quote, Temari continued to glare at Tenten. Come on Tenten-chan, there's no need for this, Naruto pleaded. I'm sorry Naruto, but I have to do this. She humiliated me in front of everyone, I want a chance to redeem myself. Tenten said as she turned to face Naruto. Please just stay out of this. Naruto looked into Tenten's eyes, and he could see she wasn't going to back down. Alright Tenten-chan, but please don't go overboard. Naruto said with a sigh. So are you gonna fight, or are you gonna back down? Tenten said as she turned back to face Temari. Temari looked at Naruto and her eyes softened. He's worth fighting for, Temari thought as her eyes filled with determination. You're on, Temari exclaimed as she hoisted her fan off her back. Excellent, Tenten said with a feral grin. Tenten and Temari stood across from each other in a strip of desert just outside the village. Temari opened her fan, while Tenten had a scroll in her hand ready to be opened. Both kunoichi glared at each other waiting for the other to make the first move. Temari suddenly hefted her fan and swung it. Futon. Kazakiri no jutsu, Temari said as several blades of wind flew towards Tenten. Quickly rolling out of the way, Tenten opened her scroll. There was a puff of smoke, and Tenten held a weapon in her hands. No way, she's using that already. Naruto thought in a panic when he saw Tenten holding the Bashozen. Tenten, what are you doing? Naruto yelled as Tenten prepared to attack. You know how much of a toll that thing takes on your chakra. Quote, but it was too late as Tenten raised the fan. Bashozen. Hai no Maki. Tenten swiped the fan, causing a miv wall of fire to fly at Temari. Temari went wide-eyed when she saw the fire racing towards her. The Suna Kunoichi jumped over the flames, her feet barely clearing the scorching wall of fire. When she cleared the flames, Temari saw Tenten bringing her fan back for another attack. Quickly biting her thumb, Temari swiped blood across her fan. Kuchios. Kurikiri Mai. Temari swung her fan, summoning Katamari. The weasel spun toward Tenten, swinging a sickle. Temari was stunned when she saw Tenten duck under Katamari, and grab the weasel by its tail. Tenten tossed the weasel into the air and swung her fan. Bashozen. Kei's no Maki. An insanely powerful blast of wind sent Katamari rocketing back towards Temari. The Suna Kunoichi tried to dodge, but the weasel hit her in the stomach, knocking the wind out of her. Tenten fell to one knee as she panted heavily. The Bashozen had drained a miv amount of her chakra. She spotted Temari ching her stomach as she slowly rose to her feet. Time to finish this. Tenten thought as she gathered her strength and jumped into the air, unraveling 2 scrolls as she went. Soshoryu. The air around Tenten was filled with dozens of various weapons. This ends now. Regaining her breath, Tamari started frantically dodging all of the oncoming weapons. But there were too many weapons, and Tamari was quickly tiring. A few kunai grazed her as her dodging became sluggish. I have to get rid of these damn weapons. Tamari thought as she saw an opening and raised her fan. Futon. Okamedachi no Jutsu. When Tamari swiped her fan, a miv gust of wind blew through the area. Tenten and her weapons were blown back by the force of the wind. Tamari watched with a smirk as Tenten fell to the ground in a heap, surrounded by her fallen weapons. Huh, looks like I win, Tamari panted out as she closed her fan. Again. No, I refuse to give up. Tamari went wide-eyed when she saw Tenten lift herself up off the ground. The Suna Kunoichi could have sworn she saw Tenten's eyes become red and slitted for a moment. Tenten's chakra flared, before she stood and immediately charged Tamari with remarkable speed. How the hell is she so fast all of a sudden? Tamari thought as Tenten closed in. Dynamiku Entori. Tenten jumped and raised her leg, much like Lee. Tamari raised her fan to block the attack. But when Tenten's foot hit the fan, Tamari was shocked to see it start to dent and crack. She's breaking my fan with just one kick. Tamari thought as she was sent skidding backwards by the force of the kick. Tenten was immediately on top of Tamari, engaging her in taijutsu. Tamari was quickly put on the defensive by the force and speed of Tenten's strikes. What the hell happened? She was dead tired a second ago. Now it's like she got a power boost or something. Tamari thought as she raised her arm to block a roundhouse kick aimed at her head. I won't lose. Tenten roared as she edged her fist back. Now's my chance. Tamari thought as she swung her fan. Just when Tenten's fist made contact with Temari's jaw, Temari's fan hit Tenten's chin. Both kunoichi went flying back from the force of the blows. They both panted as they laid on the ground. Damn, that was a nice punch. Tamari said as she held her aching jaw. That wasn't a bad swing either. Tenten replied as she spit some blood out of her mouth. Are you both alright? Naruto and a clone exclaimed as they helped Tenten and Tamari stand. We're fine, Naruto, it's over. Tenten said as she used Naruto's support to stand. Okay, let's get you both to Sakura a chance so she can heal you too. Naruto and his clone said as they helped the girls walk to the village. Hey Tenten, Tamari asked as they entered the village. Yeah, Tenten replied, turning her head to look at Tamari. Truce? Tamari asked as she extended her hand. Tenten looked at Temari's hand and grinned. Truce, Tenten said as she shook Temari's hand. But we will fight again, and I will win next time. Name the time and the place. Tamari said with her own grin. Naruto watched the girls with a smile on his face. It looks like they'll be friends after all. 4 days later. 4 days after the fight, Naruto and Tamari had went on 3 other dates. Tamari spent most of free time by Naruto's side. They were nearly inseparable, much to the other girls' jealousy. But today was the day Shukaku was to be sealed back inside Gaara, and tensions were high. Tamari and Kankuro had strongly opposed the idea at first. However, after a talk with Gaara, and some roaring from the Naruto, the other 2 Sand siblings were on board with the idea. Naruto and Gaara stood outside a set of miv doors. Behind them, Shukaku was waiting to be sealed inside his former Jinchuriki. Are you ready? Naruto asked as he placed a hand on Gaara's shoulder. As ready as I'll ever be. Gaara said with a nod, but he still seemed nervous. Naruto quickly pulled Gaara into a hug, surprising the young Kazekage. I'm so scared, Naruto. Gaara said as he held Naruto tightly. You'll be fine, Gaara, I know it. Naruto said as he patted Gaara's back. A few tears escaped Gaara's eyes as Naruto tightened his hold. After a few moments, Naruto released Gaara. The Kazekage quickly wiped his tears and turned to the miv doors. Gaara took a deep breath and steeled himself for what he was about to do. Well, here goes nothing. Gaara said as he pushed open the doors. Naruto saw the one-tailed Biju sitting in the room through a crack in the door. Hello, Shukaku. Gaara said as the door closed behind him. Several hours passed as Naruto waited outside the room. He heard Gaara yell out in pain several times, but there was nothing he could do. The sealing ceremony required absolute silence and concentration. So Naruto was forced to wait outside the doors. All of his teammates came at one time or another to talk to him, and take his mind off worrying about Gaara. While Naruto stood outside the door silently talking with Temari, one MIV door opened. Naruto and Temari turned to see an exhausted Gaara being supported by a guard. Gaara! Naruto and Temari yelled out as they ran towards the cage. Stop! The guard said, causing Naruto and Temari to stop in their tracks. Please don't touch Cage-sama, he is very weak right now. It's a light, Gaara said as he raised his head slowly. Gaara, are you alright? Temari asked as she took her younger brother from the guard. Yes, I'm fine, Temari, just exhausted. Gaara said weakly. So did it work? Naruto asked as he supported Gaara on his right side, while Temari supported his left. Yeah, it worked, Gaara said as he offered them a small smile. Me and Shukaku got a lot of making up to do. Just imagine how strong you'll be once you and Shukaku learn how to work together, Naruto said with a grin. Once you and Shukaku become a team, come find me, and we'll have another spar. But this time we'll both have our Biju to back us up. Why, you're on, Gaara said as he closed his eyes and ped out. 2 days later, Naruto's team was ready to leave Suna and head towards their next destination. Gaara, Temari and Kankuro met the group at the village entrance to see them off. Gaara was still fairly weak from the ceiling, so he was using a cane to help him stand. Well, it's been fun, Naruto said with his usual foxy grin. Yes, it sure has been interesting, Gaara said with a smile. Don't get into too much trouble, Kankuro said with a wide grin. I won't make any promises, Naruto said, returning the grin. I had an amazing time, Naruto, Temari said as she hugged Naruto. Me to Temari-chan, Naruto said with a sad smile. He was gonna really miss his desert rose. Well, we best be off, Naruto said as he hoisted his backpack over his shoulder. With a few finals waves, Naruto's team started walking down the path exiting the village. When Naruto's group was out of sight, Temari bit her bottom lip as she gazed off into the direction Naruto had went. Gaara sighed as he watched his older sister. Go after him, Gaara said suddenly. What? Temari said as she turned to face her younger brother. Go after your man, Gaara said with a smile. I know you want to. Quote. Temari smiled brightly as she hugged Gaara tightly, causing much pain to the cage. Thank you, Gaara, I promise I'll be safe, Temari said as she released Gaara and turned to Kankuro. The puppet user had a frown on his face as he looked at his sister. That bastard better protect you, or so help me. Kankuro was silenced when he felt Temari wrap her arms around him. I'll be fine, Kankuro, Temari said before she tightened her grip around Kankuro, making him gasp in pain. Plus, I can take care of myself. Temari released Kankuro and looked at both her brothers. I love both you guys, Temari said before she took off after Naruto. Naruto's group wasn't very far from the village. Tenten turned to Naruto lagging behind the rest of the group. She saw the look of sadness on his face. What's wrong, Naruto? Tenten asked as she started to walk next to him. I miss Temari-chan, Naruto said as he stared into the cloudless sky. I hate to admit it, but I actually kinda miss her too, Tenten admitted with a sigh. I wish she had come with us, Naruto said in a sad tone. Well, your wish is granted. Naruto and Tenten spun around to see Temari behind them. Temari-chan, Naruto said in an excited tone, causing everyone else to turn around. What are you doing here, Temari? Tenten asked, surprised by her presence. Gaara let me go with you guys, Temari said as a blush spread across her face. I want to explore these feelings I have for you, Naruto. Well then, welcome aboard, Temari-chan, Naruto said with a mild smile. Again they both started to get lost in each other's eyes. Don't puss out this time, Kurama muttered out from inside Naruto's head. This time there was no interruption when Naruto captured Temari's lips with his own. It wasn't a very long kiss, but it was a very pianate one. When they both parted, Temari had a dreamy look on her face. Wow. Temari breathed out in a dazed tone. Come on, Temari-chan, let's head out, Naruto said as he wrapped his arm around Temari's waist. The Suna Kunoichi had a huge smile on her face as they walked through the desert. So where are we going next, Naruto? Anko asked as she walked up next to Naruto and Temari. Well, we're making a slight detour, Naruto said, getting confused looks from everyone. What do you mean detour? Conan asked in a confused tone. Naruto turned his head and smiled at Anko. We're heading to Oto, and we're getting that curse mark off you for good.